When I finished watching the 5th episode of Jellyfish Can't Swim in the night, I burst into tears and had a full-blown meltdown. These teens were living my dream and doing everything that I wanted to be doing. They were making and releasing music regularly, they were doing well on YouTube, they were gaining a fan base quickly, and it was all coming together for them. And here I was over in reality, stuck in survival mode, not having enough time for my projects, falling further and further behind on my music, and barely holding on, just surviving the day-to-day tasks. I was so behind on my responsibilities, my bills, and everything that I wanted to be doing. I'm 32, and although I wouldn't trade my journey since it got me to where I am now, the grief I felt as I watched these teenagers living the life that I wanted to live was soul-crushing. I started falling deeper and deeper into despair. I couldn't even fathom having enough energy or time in the day to be able to live out my dreams the way that they were. At 32, I'm watching my youth crumble from beneath me, and I'm left with the crushing and debilitating guilt that I should be further than I am by now. I thought I'd be international by now. I thought I'd be living off my music by now, but instead, I'm working a job that exhausts every single layer of my being, barely having enough time to put videos together, and having little to no mental bandwidth to pursue my music. As I watched the episode, I couldn't help but feel envious over their success. How was it so easy for them? They even had their fandoms blow up super fast while I'm over here a decade into my creative careers with little to show for it. Throughout this meltdown, I kept coming back to the conclusion that what they were doing wasn't impossible. That I already had those creative spaces set up in my house to build my own empire. I already had all of the tools needed to really start pursuing my own dream. I just needed to buckle down, commit to the time, and just do it. Then it came to me. What if I use this anime as a jumping off point? What if I use the inspiration and motivation I felt watching them to push myself in ways that I'd never done before? Then I decided that with 6 weeks left in the show, I was going to use each episode as a motivational push to get myself back on track and see just how far I can take myself to transform my careers. I decided to make this video to document that process and hopefully also help others find the push that they need. So, episode 6 had a massive impact on me. The story follows the Jelly crew as they are commissioned by a struggling idol to write a song for her. The idol in question is 31, and she's on her last legs with her company as to whether they're going to continue supporting her. Many of her concerns and depression come from working as an idol for 14 years and getting nearly nowhere. Watching this as a 32-year-old who's been in the industry for 10 plus years and pursuing music seriously for 14, her story resonated with me. Throughout the episode, she grapples with whether it's even worth it to continue. But by the end, she decides to continue moving forward and is finally rewarded for her hard work. I was so moved by her perseverance, and it was a really nice change of pace to see someone like me and my age represented. As someone who's been working and struggling with very little to show for it, it is so easy to get frustrated by industry anime where the characters just magically hit it big and don't really have to work for it. So I was very grateful that Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night decided to show this side of the industry as well. Back in the real world, I was in the midst of deciding to pull the trigger on my first music release of the year. I finally said, "F it, we're not pushing it back anymore," and took the first big step to releasing it. I contacted the artist Virtual Prism, who'd done all of my previous album art. This had been a major stuck point for myself since album artwork is so personal and really dictates how the public sees you and your brand. I had been endlessly stuck on what I wanted to do, but finally got a ping of inspiration and hit up Virtual Prism to commission it. With this massive task taken care of, I was able to narrow down a release date for the EP and start planning everything out. I decided on June 28th and started daydreaming of what I wanted the release to look like. One of the aspects that I was really envious about Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night is how quickly they were able to release music. And not only music, but professionally produced music with a clear visual component that was also well received. The episode that really tested the realm of probability was when they completed everything, and I mean everything, from recording the vocals, to mixing the song, to finishing the visuals, to completing everything and releasing it over the course of 24 hours. As a professional musician who's also a YouTuber, I can speak from personal experience and tell you that even with the greatest professional team behind you, backed with an obscene amount of label money, this task is pretty much impossible. So for them to do everything over a single day, as inspirational as it was, I just had to roll my eyes. This did, however, inspire me to try to push myself further in challenging my ideals of just how often I wanted to actually release content. The reality of composing, recording, mixing, mastering, and releasing music, not including any of the branding, let alone visual components, is a lot less glamorous than you see in the media. All of the music that I've released over the past 2 years, minus 2 songs, were songs that had been mixed, mastered, and ready to release since 2020, but had since been delayed over and over due to the pandemic, taking a break, and then slowly trying to rebuild my music career. This episode did, however, remind me of the absolute joy that comes from those first inspirational pushes, when you get to that amazing stage of composing, recording, and producing new music. And for that inspiration, I am just so deeply grateful. Within a few weeks, I got my album artwork back, and it was exactly what I was looking for. Now, with that in tow, I was finally able to upload the album to DistroKid with a little under a month until the release. Now came the massive task of creating promo content and planning out posts and videos to build that momentum. The thing with momentum, especially when it comes to a music career, is that you have to capitalize on everything, big or small. Thanks to an amazing collaboration project I was a part of, I had a music release on May 31st that not only allowed me to put out music for the first time in a year, but also collaborate with other artists. Watching the girls of Jelly meet up with each other and work together to make music echoed exactly what I'd experiencing with my own collaborators. It reminded me of just how easy it is to actually create music with others once you get the scheduling set up. Now that I had a music release under my belt, it was time to really and actually start pushing and performing again. One thing about me is that I have a very complicated relationship with both my music career and my stage presence. The music career part I'm not going to quite go into here because it honestly gets really dark, and it's something that I'm still very actively working on in therapy. Maybe one day I'll be ready to talk about it online, but at this point, not yet. It still needs a lot of work, and yeah. So I grew up on stage performing in everything, from piano concerts when I was a kid, to being in every single choir I could audition for throughout school, to performing in groups in college, and I was even part of a ska band for a few years before going on my own. I tried out being a solo indie musician, I tried out being in an indie pop band, and then I finally took the plunge to learn how to produce my own music. And with that, I was able to start performing the way that I've always wanted. It started out with just me, my vocal effects box, and a sample pad. And then eventually, once I started to really make my own music, it was just me, my vocal effects box, and my questionable dancing abilities. After performing and booking shows for years, I took a break in 2020, which was honestly great and much needed, but it also invited back in a lot of performance anxiety. With my very few shows last year and the few that I've performed this year so far, I feel like I've lost a lot of my confidence in performing. And it wasn't until the past few weeks that I realized that it's because I don't feel confident in my equipment. I've always been a confident singer. I know what I'm working with, and I know that I have talent. But with vocal effects, especially with auto-tune, if you're not singing right in the middle of the note perfectly on pitch, the effects will pitch correct you to the wrong note, which can make it sound like you don't know how to sing your own music. Here's a little clip of my last show so you can see. And yeah, this is because I literally couldn't hear myself, and so I couldn't find the middle of the note.
I walk in groups around you to see what I can bring. You tell me every time I take more than I can chew. You won't stop to ask me why I never married you. I can't describe.
These technical difficulties have robbed me of my performing confidence and has led to me avoiding performing. It's even affected me trying to book shows, which I felt this massive mental block around, but I wasn't able to actually articulate what was happening or how to fix it until these last few weeks. In the final episode of Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, Kano is performing on the big stage, but then everything zooms out and she loses her confidence and strength to perform. I have played many of these shows. It feels like time is simultaneously slowing down, but it's also going too fast, and with each moment, you lose more and more control over your performance. As this process speeds up, you get swept under the current and lose all ability to take back control of the performance. I've played shows where this derails the entire show, and I've also played shows where I've been able to regain that control. So watching Kano be able to pull herself out of it to perform was so heartwarming and validating. When I performed in early July, even despite practicing my ass off, I still ran into technical difficulties, which you guys saw earlier. But this time, I did my best to try to not panic and was eventually able to pull myself back on track without looking like I was panicking too much.
He's a good now, just because we have us where overdone time shadow. We are just.
Thankfully, it translated okay, and when I asked my friends about the performance, they said it sounded great, so thank God for that. But it was definitely an eye-opener of the steps that I needed to take to regain my performing confidence. Now that I know what equipment I need to make things better, I do truly honestly feel like that with time and practice, I should be able to start performing the way that I want to again. This in turn will raise my confidence, will make it easier for me to book shows, get myself out there, networking, the whole 9 yards. So I am so happy and grateful that I finally worked through one of the biggest mental blocks that I've dealt with in the past few years. When June rolled around, the real pressure cooker kicked in. I was working around the clock at my 9 to 5, releasing Pride-themed YouTube videos, preparing for my EP release, and also trying to get ready for Anime Expo, which involved getting cosplays together, networking stuff together, so much stuff together, and I only literally got it together in the week before I went. This month was honestly a complete blur, especially the last few weeks of it, like I was barely functioning. My EP Logic dropped on June 28th, and despite being prepared and having videos to post to help promote it, it just felt surreal and a little empty. I think Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night did a great job of showcasing the almost empty and helpless feeling that can occur when you release music. You've put so much into this music, and once it's out in the world, all you can really do is hope for the best and pray that your hard work pays off. Sometimes it does, but a lot of the times a release is just a release. The music industry is just so random and unpredictable, and it's really only the big popular artists who really see a massive popularity bump when they release music. The rest of us are kind of just throwing paint at the wall and hoping that people will recognize it, and that, maybe down the line it'll blow up on TikTok or something, and then will actually take off. I would love a random popular release, kind of like the second release that Jelly put out where they stayed up all night to complete it, got it out on time, went to sleep, and then when they woke up, it had miraculously blown up. But alas, my release was just a release. With some listeners, which I am so grateful for, thank you so much if you have listened or supported it, thank you. But mostly it was kind of just there. Ironically, it wasn't my personal promotion videos or posts that have made any of my music do well lately. It wasn't even the collaboration that I was a part of that was simultaneously being backed by multiple artists and had a really good promotional run.
Stop hitting me!
It was actually my Queer Anime Characters That Give Me Life video that made my track from the album take off. If there's one thing that I've learned about my 9 to 5, is that all it takes is one. All it takes is that one song getting big on TikTok, where everyone then starts using it, and suddenly your monthly Spotify listeners do well that you can actually make money off of streaming. And if you know anything about making money off of streaming, it is damn near impossible unless you're getting tens of thousands to millions of views. All it takes is one video to blow up on YouTube to help remind YouTube that you're worthy of being pushed by the algorithm. And then everything can change from there. I was at 630 subscribers when that video first came out. And within a month, that subscriber count was pushed to 1,000 subscribers. And then a month later, it is now sitting around 1,700 subscribers. I don't think y'all understand just how massive this was. All of my videos up until this point would get maybe 15 to 30 subscribers, and on very rare occasion more. With how this year was going, my goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by June was impossible, so I moved that goal back to the end of the year. So when I suddenly hit 1,000 subscribers thanks to this video and a personal plea to my friends, I could not believe my eyes. This was nothing short of a miracle. This meant that I could now apply for monetization. And this right here is the biggest threshold that my channel had been working towards since I first started it. All it takes is one, and that one got me monetized, helped my song blow up, and connected me with so much of my queer community, creating a space for all of us to be weird together. When I started this YouTube channel, I knew that it was going to be a lot of work, but I had no idea just how much work it was actually going to be. How that work was going to consume my life to the point that I stopped going out to shows, stopped seeing my friends, stopped performing and working on my music. I had to drop all of my previous notions about even the types of videos that I wanted to make. I ended up having to abandon a video that I sunk 200 hours into because it was so detrimental to my mental health. How that was actually okay, and I didn't need to stick to rigid schedules if they were unsustainable and unhealthy. I had no idea that this was going to trap me into a cycle of being behind on my bills since I was so hyper-focused on making videos that I literally let everything in my life fall apart. Looking at all of that, it definitely makes my relationship to YouTube, this channel, and this life path look ridiculously toxic. And to be honest, it was. It's better now, but the balance is still so precarious that it could still completely topple over if I'm not careful. So why would I do this? Why would I put my physical, mental, and financial health in peril so that I could pursue this channel? Well, why did the girls of Jelly throw caution to the wind to start their group, their music, and their channel? Because we wanted to create something better for ourselves. We wanted to build a livelihood where we're able to live the creative lives of our dreams, where our job is to create. So yeah, I recognize that my relationship to my channel isn't the healthiest, but it is getting better, and it's something that I'm continuously working on in therapy and with my manager. One of the unfortunate aspects of starting massive projects and careers like this is that the first few years are going to be rocky. And if you seriously want this, you are going to have to sacrifice a lot to make it happen. Now, I really wish that this toxic reality wasn't the case, but no one ever made it by half-assing it. And if they did, it's because they either got ridiculously lucky, which probably didn't last, or they had a team with lots of money behind them that were working twice as hard behind the scenes. Now that I've hit the threshold that I've been working towards, I can finally take a tiny baby step back and try to refocus on putting my life back together because Jesus Christ, it is a fucking wreck right now. In the future, I really want to try to be more successful, but I want to do it in a way where I'm not constantly falling back into this cycle of burnout, depression, rinse, and repeat. Watching the final episodes of Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, I was very grateful that over the course of the show, we go through a full year of their growth as a group. Although their growth was still quick, it wasn't unrealistically overnight. When coming up on that year mark, they faced many of the obstacles I too was running into. That unbelievable exhaustion of putting everything you have into a project and the results still not being what you wanted. Or even worse, when you do actually hit those goals, you are left with feeling nothing. No satisfaction, just a numbness and panic of what the f do I do now? The show ends with them finally hitting their follower goal that they were working towards and being able to perform on a large stage like they always wanted to. But that post-success empty feeling was also still there. That momentary panic of, okay, we did it, but now what? How do we keep this going? And although I doubt that there'll be a second season, I think that we can predict that they will have a successful future. But just like in the real world, their success, like my success, only feels good for a moment. If you're in a space where you can allow yourself to celebrate those wins, it's always followed by that sobering moment where you try to figure out what to do next. How do you keep that momentum going? How do you capitalize on those wins? How do you make your 15 minutes count? These industries are beyond brutal. But at least for Jelly, they have good industry connects and their youth, which plays a much bigger role than you'd think. But what about me? I'm 32. I'm only just now starting to inch towards where I want to be. I don't have big industry connects, and my wins are nowhere nearly as momentous as theirs. What am I supposed to do with my careers, and how did this anime actually help me? Well, one of the benefits of being my age and being in the industry as long as I have been is that I've had enough failures to know how to pull myself back up. I have unfortunately had enough people take advantage of me that I know how to surround myself with people who care about me and genuinely want to see me succeed. I feel like I should have more sense of urgency about moving my career forward quicker, but I also know that for the most part, I am doing as much as I can. And if I want to make these careers my livelihood, I have to go at my own pace. Because rushing may work for a hot minute, but when I crash, it could push me even further back than I was before then. Watching Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night helped remind me of that addictive energy you get from being creative. How working with others can reignite your passion, and how you will not succeed in this industry if you're an island and isolate yourself. You need your friends. You need your team because no one, and I mean no one, can do this on their own. Watching this made me excited about my music career for the first time in a long time. It helped me get to a place where I could start breaking down those mental walls so that I could actually move forward. It helped remind me the reasons why I gave up my life for this channel, and it helped give me the energy to reach that threshold where I am now monetized. Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night really did find me exactly when I needed it. It helped me take back control over this channel. It helped me start to find balance so that I can sustain this channel. And most importantly of all, it helped reignite my long-lost passion for my music. For those of us pursuing creative careers, it is so important to recognize the moments in our careers where we can look back on as wins, as turning points, as places to reflect on when we're feeling lost. This anime did that for me. And because of that, it will always have a very special place in my heart. And because of that, for this chapter in my life, it really did Save me. This was a really vulnerable video essay for me to make, since it's the first time that I've truly peeled the curtain back to show all of you the world that I've worked so hard to create for you. There are far too many unrealistic shows, movies, and even content creators who just spew the toxic "work hard and it'll happen" rhetoric without actually showing just how brutal it is behind the scenes. I wanted to be honest and express just how hard and how soul-crushing being a creative in these industries can be, but also how it can transform your life for the better. If you're also a creative out there, no matter what medium or to what degree, I hope that you know that you are worthy. Your art is worthy, and you are enough. Yes, we can always do more, but you're fine exactly the way that you are, and you will find your way through. And with that being said, if you'd like to see more video essays and anime commentary, please consider subscribing and joining our wonderful and supportive community. Thank y'all so much for sticking around, and I'll see all of y'all on the next one.